Yeah, I'm always scared to talk about stuff like this because I don't want to get, I mean, I also don't want to just be an idiot either, you know? I don't want to just come out, I'm biased. I acknowledge my bias. You know what I mean? I'm a dude. And I know from a dude side, watching dudes do dude things and watching women do women things, the dynamics to me are quite clear in terms of how the genders function within one another. I try not to be too, I obviously have my opinions on things. I try not to be too political and deviate too far into murky waters, mainly because, with politics, anytime you mention anything, you just piss people off because people just are unable to segment. It's like an inability to think critically. This is one of those topics, but I wanted to address it before doing a gameplay this morning because like I said, it's everywhere, and I think that it's important to. I imagine it's in a lot of your minds too, and it is. Dozens of women have levied sexual assault allegations towards several Twitch streamers, YouTubers, gaming, esports personalities, and gaming industry personnel. You've got a ton of stuff on here. There's really no point in me going through each individual. It's so insane. Left, right, and center, there's just tons of allegations of weird shit. One that I spent way too much time looking at was this Lily Pichu stuff that came out. Basically, it's influencers in the gaming community either legit sexually assaulting people or just doing creepy weird shit, or on the other end of the spectrum, in some cases it appears to be, I'm not going to say any names, it appears to be some people are using accusations as a way to, I don't know, get clout years later or something. Like, I just want to go on the record and say right now that obviously there's power dynamics in the streaming industry where if someone's got a lot of followers or a lot of fans, or in the case of Twitch staff, there was an incident where one of the Twitch staff members, I think it was Hassan, there's all these instances where those power dynamics exist, and you can use the fact that you're like big on Twitch to leverage whether or not someone gets partnered. Or you can use the fact that you're popular on Twitch, you're popular on YouTube, and you can use your social media following to get to basically play favorites with people that you like and do favors for people that you like. A lot of people are going to do bad things when they're put in a position of power. But I will say this. I'm a little uncomfortable with the idea as a content creator. I'm a little uncomfortable personally with the idea, and I tweeted about this earlier today. Follow me on Twitter. I tweeted about this a little earlier today. I'm uncomfortable with the idea of people charging up allegations, basically leveraging relationships with people, harboring strange interactions and inappropriate exchanges, basically like tanking those, charging those up, and then turning around, and here, I'll turn off the, I'm uncomfortable with people like charging those up and spewing those out on social media spheres years later, because while there are obviously true instances of people being inappropriate, I'm talking about everything, not just like one incident, because to me, when I look at this and I see all these different incidents coming out, it's exhausting. And I'm torn because on one end, people that do really heinous shit need to be held accountable. People that do really bad things need to be held accountable. But there's a difference between somebody doing bad things, or I should say, yeah, there's a difference between somebody doing bad things or heinous things, and a difference between a strange, flirtatious interaction or an inappropriate advance, trying to end somebody's career over that. And in my opinion, what's going on is because there's so many accusations that aren't actually anything really going around. Like, I feel like it's easy for people to take in somebody being just weird and inappropriate. And there's so many instances of that being publicized where it trivializes the experience as like the real experience of somebody going through something terrible, like a true sexual assault. And it's another thing entirely for somebody to maintain a professional relationship or to even maintain an actual relationship, have sex with somebody, and turn around 3 years later, 4 years later, even after giving consent, spinning it and using it to torpedo somebody's career. That's where I'm personally a little hesitant to jump on the bandwagon. And furthermore, I would argue that a court of public opinion has really no place in a lot of these particular instances. When you're getting look at all this in the past 7 days, all these have been contributed. These interactions or these accusations of whatever, right? All of these have been bunched up in the span of like a week. It gets to the point where it becomes, you guys remember the tribunal for League of Legends, right? Initially, it was one of those things where people were like, oh, we're going to manually check like all these interactions. And it was like the entire solo queue, like every single match. And you would just look at these individual games and these matches and what people said and decide whether or not to punish people. It kind of reminds me of that, where it feels like the internet or just social media in general leans on punish by default. The public perception is when someone levies an accusation against somebody, the mob, the Twitter mob, the Reddit mob, or whatever, the default is to side with the accuser every single time. And that was the same thing with the tribunal. And I guess that's where I'm a little sketched out, is because while obviously a good majority of these accusations are going to be true, there's going to absolutely be accusations where it was something that was leveraged in order to do damage or harm to somebody else for the accuser's benefit. So as a streamer, I'm very uncomfortable with this trend. I'm uncomfortable with the trend because I have to pussyfoot around just to talk about it to you guys, because if I so much as suggest that maybe, just maybe, I'm going to use a quote from somebody I interacted with, come along with me on a journey. Just imagine for a minute that these influencers, female, male, whatever, just imagine a world where these influencers are not completely helpless and fragile and socially unaware. Just imagine for a second that every one of these accusations, maybe there was some sort of transactional expectation of, I'm going to hang around this person. I may even fool around with this person. I may even put myself in compromising positions with this person so that I am around more opportunities or I'm around more benefit. Because I see a lot of these allegations coming out from influencers where there is a painted, almost like a fictitious writing segment where we try to paint ourselves as helpless and as without agency as possible. That's all I'm saying. I don't believe that many of these people are as unable to come to their own, unable to speak up, unable to understand the dynamics at play, understand to leverage those dynamics. These are people that are social media savvy. These are people that know, and if you have any doubts, you can obviously look at like the whole Johnny Depp thing. These are people that are aware. It's not like they're clueless. It's not like they've never been hit on by people before. It's not like they've ever been approached by people before. It's not like the people that are judging some of these influencers are the same people that live in the basement and never talk to women or men. These are people that have the ability to choose whether or not they interact with the people that they interact with. And that's what makes me uncomfortable, because when these people start trying to leverage social media outrage or try to wait until a relationship's on a downswing and then go and unleash hell, fire, and fury on other people, that's where I am uncomfortable. And maybe I'm just too much of a boomer. Maybe I'm just too old to get it. But there needs to be there needs to be personal responsibility as well. And there needs to be some sort of which I know will never happen. I'm saying needs to be, but I know it'll never happen. When people are falsely representing like these interactions, when people are trying to dramatize how it affected them. And if you say, "Oh, NEACE, you're absolutely out of line here." There are documentaries. There's a documentary about 9/11 and how there was I think it was a woman, doesn't matter the gender really. There's a person who basically pretended to be impacted by 9/11, but they were like 100 miles or whatever away from the actual incident. And it's a phenomenon where people latch on to these types of things and try to make them bigger than they are, or just try to, like I said, play victim. And I don't like that when you play victim in this industry, you seem to gain from doing it, especially if you've already leveraged a relationship for your own career benefit. So I don't know. I refuse to believe that the majority of these accusations are bullshit. I refuse to believe that. But I also am sitting here and I don't feel as outraged lately by this stuff. And maybe it's just because I've been in this industry long enough and I've seen people in the way that they interact and they try to network and they try to leverage. I've personal experiences. I've had people try to leverage their sexuality to get little benefits from me personally, even though I'm married. I've seen it. So to sit here and pretend that these are like helpless, unaware, it's just like I just don't buy it all the time. You know what I'm saying? That's where I'm uncomfortable, because at some point there's a level of personal responsibility. At some point it's an individual's responsibility to speak up to people and be like, don't fucking touch me, don't go near me, don't talk to me inappropriately, don't send me this shit. Like there is a level, there is a point at which a person has to be accountable to their own actions as well. You can't, you're not just a feather in a wind current, just being swept up by all these other people. It's not an adult way to approach anything, let alone your these types of careers. But you need to take some responsibility for the people that you hang around with, for the interactions that you allow, for the people that you interface with on a daily basis. Even if at times it's going to butt heads with people. I mean, it's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to hold on to these strange. I heard one where it was like some dude asked a chick to dinner. I'm not trying to single anybody out. It's like asked a chick to dinner, and then tried to use that as like some sort of like, oh, this was an inappropriate thing, even though she could have just not went out with the dude in the first place to dinner. Like that was an awkward date. Like what? I mean, what the fuck? Yeah, and then that's the other thing. My other issue becomes if you have a problem with an interaction. I mean, sure, if you try to handle it with somebody personally in DMs or call them or text them, like these are adult steps that you should be taking. These are adult steps that you take. If it's a weird, uncomfortable interaction, even the adult thing to do is to just message somebody and be like, dude, I do not like what went down. Like, we need to talk about this. Then if they ignore you and you try, then sure, blast them, whatever. If they're just like, if they dismiss what you're saying, then go ahead. But this whole charge up the Hadouken, fucking wait 4, 5, 6 years and then turn around and say, oh, this person elbowed my boob one time, grabbed my boob one time, and they just need to be canceled. And they were drunk. I don't fucking buy it, because I guess I'm just too old and stupid. But at my core, I just can't help but feel like it's disproportionate, I guess. The punishments just seem disproportionate. Yeah, like using the example of like grabbing a boob when drunk or whatever, right? or someone grabbing your junk when they're drunk or whatever. Using those examples. Yeah, that's fucked up. Yes, you should yell at him. You should be like, dude, what the fuck? No, or yell at him after the fact. Let their friends know, like, that guy was being fucking handsy and weird, although handsy and weird and drunk kind of go hand in hand. But it's another thing entirely, like I said, to hold on to that feeling for 4 or 5 years, turn back around. It seems like the punishment doesn't fit the crime when the result is we're just going to fucking obliterate somebody's career over that. That's when I just get uncomfortable, because I feel like that's too much power in the hands of people with that can see that potential and leverage that to destroy people that they don't like, or can basically use that as like a tool to go back on interactions or to go back on things that they allowed, and to basically punish other people. Like, I don't like that. Too many snakes. I guess, yeah. I don't know. There's something inherently wrong with putting that kind of power on a Twitter mob or a Reddit mob. I just don't feel right about it. I don't feel okay about it, because if the internet has taught me anything, it's that really, really dumb people can have the same amount of volume as really, really smart people. And in many cases, really, really dumb people can have more volume than really, really smart people because of social media. Because you can herd up a bunch of sheep. You can herd up a bunch of sheep and be like, that person did something wrong, and the sheep attack. And one sheep is very gentle. But a million sheep? Keemstar told his fans one time that I looked like a school shooter, which that's an insult that I've probably heard some variant of that. I've heard variants of every heinous thing on the internet. Like, oh, this guy looks like this, or he's an adult playing a video game, so he must be a pedophile, blah, 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 right? It's different when an idiot with a big following says it. It's also different when someone who's got really bad intentions with a big following says it, right? Because obviously in that instance, I got just blasted by random. I had to like mute a bunch of fucking Twitter spams, right? Doesn't mean anything to me, because I put myself in that situation by calling out Keemstar anyways for being a shit human, which he is, which I know he is, which no amount of 10-year-olds can change my mind about that. But what I'm saying is the level of power that influencers have in these situations when it's an influencer with that type of following, or somebody that can leverage that, that's where it becomes unsafe. And that's where I take issue with this. So I guess what I should close this little rant with is I should say, if you're even going to bother getting involved, like, I'm not even looking at half of these, because I looked at some and then I looked at others and I was just like, some of this is ridiculous. If you're going to bother to look at these, take them on a case-by-case basis, okay? Take them on a case-by-case basis. If you're gonna take any of this seriously at all. Don't just lash out. When someone says that someone did something to somebody, don't just blindly lash out. Don't do it, because it's super unhealthy. Don't just take what people say at face value when it comes to this type of stuff, right? If you're saying, oh, we believe all accusations, believe it, but pay attention to the evidence. Read the stories. Think critically about it. You can believe an allegation, but also recognize that, like, these are serious accusations that probably shouldn't be on Twitter in the first place. They probably shouldn't be on Reddit in the first place. And if they got here, then there's something very, very iffy going on. There's something that we need to look at very closely here, because you don't know these people. You don't know how they live. You don't know what their life is. You don't know what their intent is. You don't know any of that. And I would also question very, very strongly these types of scenarios where people didn't seek to remedy them with the person that they're accusing, because that happens a lot on these too. Because these streamers aren't toddlers. They're not without agency. They're humans. They know how social media works. They know how to communicate. That's what they do. It's not they're not just meandering through life without any sort of without any sort of control over their thoughts and emotions and positions and feelings, and it's just scary. That's what it boils down to, because being scrutinized or judged for things that happened 5+ years ago, there's a lot of room, there's a lot of gray area and fog there, and it becomes very one-sided very, very quick. And yeah, this is an aspect of streaming that I don't enjoy, is when people start, firstly, when people start being perverts, but then the other side of the coin is when people try to treat human beings as without any sort of personal responsibility as well. That's where that's where I get uncomfortable. Anyways, I'll probably get banned for posting this, because people will think that I'm somehow saying that people being inappropriate doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that people need to communicate. Both sides need to communicate a lot more. And then if you want to talk about power dynamics, what about like gender dynamics? The guy, if every single man were to wait passively around for an opportunity to meet with or be with a woman, I do not believe, that it's not how the world works. It's not how the world works. Women have abundance, men do not, when it comes to romantic partners. So you start conflating these two situations together, and that's when I'm just going, I'm not really sure that these women are unaware of the fact that they're being hit on. They're not all unaware. They're not all just, oh no, this guy, I never could imagine that this guy's attracted to me. Really? We all went to high school. Come on. Don't play that with me. You're getting into some murky waters. Anyways, just my thoughts. Guys, be respectful of women. Women, fucking, if a man does some creepy ass shit, tell him a creep. Tell his friends he's a fucking creep. Speak up. And if they don't listen, then yeah, go to social media. Be like, I told his friends. Friends didn't listen. Guy kept trying to fucking screw with me. Yeah, he's a fucking pervert. Then I'm on board. But this, like I said, this Hadouken charging, wait 3-4 years and then call out an inappropriate advance that long later is just rubbing me the wrong way. What do you think, YouTube? Am I just an old, angry, sexist boomer? Am I just a mad creature? I don't think I am. And honestly, that Fed stuff, that OTV stuff, that looked fucked up specifically. But every situation is different. Every encounter is different, and you got to treat it that way. You can't just paint it all with broad strokes.